Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Today Isle. I'm Calixian, and today I'll be doing some cooking. So here's a salmon roast that we purchased, and I've got the oven set to 375. I have some leek. I used the bigger leek here for the base. What I'm doing is a roasted salmon with on a bed of leek. This is my own creation. I've done it a few times, and it is marvelous. So basically what you do is you cut the leek into strips that you're basically going to use as an underlay for the salmon roast. I'll show you how that's done here in a second. First we need to cut it into some long strips. Not only does the leek impart its flavor to the fish, but it cooks perfectly under the fish so that it's usable as a vegetable afterwards. So basically just layer these down in the bottom of the pan. And give them a crack of salt. I happen to be using pink salt here, but any salt will do. You don't want to salt it too heavily because there will be more salt going in. The salt is more so for the benefit of the fish in this case, but it does flavor the leeks as well. Crack of salt on top of the fish. And of course we need some pepper. The two staples, salt and pepper. Can't go wrong with using just those or in combination with other things. Now, let's go put this in the oven. The oven's been preheating for a while, so make sure your oven is up to temperature. In you go. There you are. Perfect. Now the real star of the show here is that I'm making a wild mushroom risotto with 4 different varieties of wild mushrooms. These are shiitake mushrooms that I obtained from Bullygoth Farms on my mushroom excursion on the weekend. Thanks to James Connon for providing me with those. This is a king bolete or porcini mushroom. I've got several of them here, and they need to have their slime layer removed, and the gills as well. I prefer to eat just the white part. These are some oyster mushrooms that I found on the back of my property. These are all pictures that I took as well, just in my backyard, except for these guys. This was on the mushroom excursion. These are sweet tooth mushrooms. As you can see, the gill structure is bizarre. They're like teeth. They hang down like little stalactites, and they smell like burnt sugar. They're really neat. Anyway, let's get to chopping. I want to keep them in pieces that are going to be identifiable, but you know, fairly thin, because I do want them to cook thoroughly. With any wild mushrooms, you want to make sure that they cook quite well, and since I'm cooking them into a risotto, I'm not too worried about that. Occasionally here you'll see me discarding some like woody stems. Those are less digestible, less palatable, so I just usually take them out if they don't meet a certain threshold of softness. They go. Like I said, the boletes, I'm going to take the gills, or the, I guess, pore surface. I'm going to take those off, and the skin, and then they're good to go. The little baby ones I didn't worry about, but the bigger ones definitely. A trick with boletes, actually I'm going to show you a video on Friday to identify them, to help sort out what's out there, because there are several different types and they're not all delicious. Let's put it that way. And we're going to throw in some leek as well, because I want this to be a wild mushroom and leek risotto. So let's chop. Alright, so into the pan we go. Actually, no, we're gonna do garlic first. Here's a trick to crush the garlic. Just give it a tap with the knife, and the peel all comes off. Isn't that brilliant? And then we're just gonna dice this up a little bit too. Alright. Now it's into the pan we go with some butter. We're gonna let that melt up. We will be adding a little bit of oil later as well once we add the mushrooms, but for now it's just the butter to prevent the rice and the onion and garlic from sticking. I'd like to start it off at a fairly high temperature, so somewhere between 7 and 8. I don't know what kind of stove you've got, but hey Silas, what are you doing? Coming right up to take a look, as he sometimes does. So we're going to let the butter melt a little bit, then we're going to add the arborio rice. I use arborio because it's a really good rice for making risottos. It's a starchy rice. And I'm going to add the onion, or the leek I should say, and the garlic at this point. I'm just going to let everything kind of just saute for a little bit on the fairly high heat. Just trying to impart some color to the rice and sort of bring out the flavors of the garlic and the leek. Don't add salt at this point. That's not going to help your rice to cook, but pepper is great. Salt, I don't salt my food all that much. I find that you can get by with the broth itself, which has a fair bit of salt in it already. And if it's not quite there to your liking, you can just add some at the end. But salt does inhibit stuff like rice and beans from cooking properly, so not the best choice. So that's been simmering for a little bit here. I think I will add the mushrooms next. There we go. And I'm going to stir that in, and then I'll add a little bit of oil to just to keep things moving around a little bit. Again, want to add color. I'm just going to keep sauteing it at the same temperature. I wish they had smell-o-vision, because the scent in here is amazing. Leek by themselves are fantastic, but when you throw in these wild mushrooms, I'm telling you. So my objective here is to actually let it stick just a little bit. We want it to sort of get into the caramelization state, and then we'll deglaze the pan with some of the mushroom broth that I have here. Here's the mushroom broth. I'm just going to add a little bit to deglaze the pan. Stir it around really vigorously. That way there's nothing stuck, no flavor hiding on the pan itself. And then we're going to add another little dollop here. Basically with the risotto, you add a little bit of broth, you stir it in, you cover it, and you let it cook until it's gone. Then you add more, and repeat. Usually takes 3 to 5 times, and it's a total of about maybe a half-hour cooking time on a low heat. As you can see, I changed the temperature down to around 3 or 4, just to like slowly simmer it. It's coming along nicely. I'm gonna stir it up and add a little bit more broth, I think. I'm adding it about a half cup at a time. Ultimately, it's going to take a little bit over double the amount of rice, which was 1 cup. So this should take approximately 2 cups. In half cup increments, I should add. One thing to note is that when you're cooking with wild mushrooms, it's best to avoid alcoholic beverages. So don't drink and use wild mushrooms. Now, that sounds silly, but there is a really good reason for it. Some wild mushrooms, not all, have been reported to interact in bizarre ways with alcohol. Very averse type reactions, lots of nausea and things like that. So best to avoid alcohol completely when you're cooking with wild mushrooms. This is really starting to look good. It's coming together nicely. Alright, so let's take another look. Yeah, this is perfect. This is looking really good. What you want to do at this point is just take a couple of grains of the rice and test it out. Make sure that it is not still too hard, not crunchy by any means, but you do want it to be a little al dente. Nothing worse than just mush. So, and this is, yep, this is perfect. This is where I shall take it off the heat. Good chunks of mushroom in there, really well cooked. You want to cook wild mushrooms for at least 15 minutes no matter what. So apparently it warranted a major thumbs up. Now that fish we were working on, at some point you gotta flip it because you just want to make it cook evenly. So let's haul that out and flip it over. It's looking pretty good. It's not easy to catch salmon around here. They're the licensing is difficult. The locations that they actually travel are kind of remote and not easy to get to from where I am anyway. So I stick with the store-bought. I'd rather catch them myself, but store-bought will do. So it's been cooking for about, I would say, 50 minutes or so. And things are starting to look really good. I am satisfied with this, so this is where the fish comes out of the oven. Trying to give a thumbs up with an oven mitt, not so easy. And after doing a little bit of plating, here's what we have for supper. Beautiful leeks, amazing salmon, and a wild mushroom risotto. Yum. Thanks for watching.